today honors and commemorates the people who dedicated their lives in service of this country. But does Canada do enough to recognize all of the members who served at home and abroad? Our next guest retired from the military after a 36-year career, but that hasn't stopped her from working tirelessly to make the military a better place for young Indigenous people. So how does the military need to improve in order for more Indigenous people to join the ranks? Joining me now is Honorary Naval Captain Debbie Eisan. She retired from the military as a Chief Petty Officer. Welcome, Captain Eisan. Nice to see you. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us. So, a 36-year career in the military, but you continue to work to make the military sort of more welcoming for young Indigenous men and women. How do you want to see the military improve to make that happen? Or should I ask you, is the military already doing that?
Honestly, first of all, thank you for having me and speaking with me tonight. But I can honestly say that I see a forward motion with improvement within the military. You know, there's an Algonquin prophecy of the seventh fire that talks about a time when people will be brought together by the talents they have and not by the color of their skin. And I can see things moving ahead with the inclusion of Aboriginal soldiers and military person wearing braids in their hair, which is part of their uniform. I can see that now we are honoring our ceremonies, such as smudging ceremonies at change of command parades, and allowing Indigenous men and women to do those ceremonies when the time allows. So I can say that we are moving ahead, but I can also see that there's a lot of work that has to happen as well.
Okay, but still, you know, a little bit of hope there. But these conversations also, you know, have to include life after the military service. So what does the government need to do to better support Indigenous veterans?
I think what has to happen is that the Veterans Affairs needs to understand that situations for Indigenous veterans especially, we can't expect them to all have the assistance that they need and paint everybody with the same brush. You know, they have to honor the ceremonies that we need to move ahead forward, such as sweat lodge ceremonies, being able to go back to our communities to talk with our elders to help us through difficult times. Those are the kind of things that they need to look at and need to start accepting as a natural way for Indigenous veterans to do this work that we do in the military. Especially after we're retired, we can't be treated all the same way for support.
Yes, well, that brings me to my next question, Captain. So you're also working to ensure female veterans are better recognized. You know, do you think the government does enough for them as well? I
think in my time, women need to be recognized as veterans more and more, and appreciated for the work that they do. And so it's just about honoring and respecting our service in the military. I was talking to someone earlier on today that said a lot of times on my license plate, I have a veteran's plate, and many people ask me if my husband was a veteran. In my case, my husband is a veteran, but this is my car and my plate. So people don't automatically assume that the man is the veteran and it's not a woman. So I think that the government needs to do more to recognize the role that women play in the defense of Canada.
Yeah, indeed. You know, before we go, I have to ask you about the sexual misconduct crisis that, you know, you try to recruit you know, young Indigenous men and women to join the armed forces. So that must make it harder for you to encourage, especially women, to join the forces. Have you seen that?
I firmly believe that women can play a role in the military, but also to be empowered from the within. And that's what we try to help our young Indigenous women to play that role as being empowered by themselves to be able to stand up tall and to do what they have to do. At the same time, this will be, if something does happen to them, to be able to stand up to say this has happened and to stand up for themselves and not be afraid to bring these things to the forefront. You know, it's an awful thing that has happened, and I really do believe that investigations need to be had, but people need to be held accountable for their actions. Throughout my time in the military, I firmly believe that the Canadian Forces is a very, very viable career choice and a great profession for young Aboriginal men and women. It has done so much for me and helped me along in my path coming from my small community. So I do firmly believe that sometimes the work that has to be done is to make women, especially women, more powerful from within to be able to stand up for themselves, no matter what situation that they're in.
That's so interesting. You know, Honorary Naval Captain Debbie Eisan, thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for your service. And thank you for taking the time to talk to us today.
Thank you very much.